Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a world that officially isn't even supposed to exist, a world of shadow budgets and secret wars. We're going to piece together a story from declassified files and some incredible investigative research, following a money trail that leads to some pretty shocking places. Just look at this single sentence, supposedly from a secret FBI report. It hints at this whole hidden universe of money and power operating completely outside the law. And it really poses the one central question we're going to tackle today. How in the world do you fund a secret war? So, to understand why you'd even need secret money in the first place, you have to understand the mission. And that mission, in a nutshell, is covert action. A lot of the time, covert action relies on its most dramatic and, frankly, its most effective tool, the coup d'etat. This isn't about diplomacy, it's about achieving your goals by forcibly kicking out a government. And an operation like that, it takes money, it takes influence, and it absolutely requires total secrecy. And when you look at this timeline from our source material, you start to see a pretty clear pattern emerge during the Cold War. In '53, Iran's leader gets overthrown right after he nationalizes their oil. Just a year later, in Guatemala, the president is out because he's threatening the United Fruit Company. And you see it again and again. The alleged goal was always the same: get our guy in and protect American business. Now, think about it. These operations were incredibly expensive. You're funding everything from hired protesters on the streets, to weapons, to straight-up bribes. A lot of this stuff was totally illegal under US law. So that begs the really critical question. If this money wasn't coming from the official public government budget, where on earth did it come from? And that question leads us right into the concept of the black budget. It's a world of off-the-books financing, and it's designed from the ground up to be completely invisible. You know, every dollar the government officially spends is supposed to be tracked, it's approved by Congress, it's public record. But what these source documents allege is the existence of a totally parallel financial system, the black budget. This thing operates in total secrecy, no oversight, no accountability, just a giant pool of untraceable money for whatever clandestine operation you can dream up. So where did the first big chunk of this shadow money come from? Well, according to these documents, and this is wild, it was the Marshall Plan. Yep, while America was publicly spending billions to rebuild Europe after the war, it's alleged that 5% of those funds, we're talking almost $700 million, was secretly being skimmed off by the CIA. But that was just a drop in the bucket. Our sources allege a far, far larger and way more controversial stream of revenue was set up, and its roots go all the way back to the CIA's wartime predecessor, the OSS. The alleged strategy was as simple as it was, well, brutal. Team up with organized crime, use the global drug trade to fund your anti-communist allies. The goal was to stop the spread of communism, and according to these claims, the devastating social cost of the drug trade was just considered the price of doing business. And this pipeline, which you might have heard of as the French Connection, allegedly created this perfect, self-sustaining financial engine for covert ops. Opium, grown by CIA-backed forces in Asia, gets shipped to mafia labs in Europe. It's refined into heroin, then sold on the streets in the United States. And the profits? They were allegedly laundered and funneled right back into funding anti-communist groups in Europe. Okay, so as these operations got bigger and bigger, you can imagine they needed a really sophisticated way to manage the incredible amounts of money pouring in. The documents we're drawing from claim a literal dream team of intelligence and political figures was put together to manage this global fund. And the list of names is it's astonishing. You've got seasoned operatives, sure, but also 2 future directors of the CIA and, get this, a future president of the United States. And at the very heart of this financial network, according to the source material, was a master account called the 5-Star Trust. You gotta understand, this wasn't just some bank account. Think of it more like a global mechanism, a financial black hole for holding and laundering billions, completely walled off from any kind of legal or public oversight. The secrecy around this money was absolute. And the stakes, as this correspondence chillingly suggests, were lethally high for anybody who got involved. To give you a sense of the sheer scale we're talking about, get ready for this number. One document alleges that a single account linked to the trust held $1.6 trillion. Let me say that again, trillion. That is more than the annual economic output of most countries on this planet. So this all leads to a very logical question, right?
With political interventions this big and a global financial scheme of this magnitude, how could any of this possibly stay a secret for so long? Well, according to these researchers, the operation had one final, absolutely essential component. It wasn't enough to just hide the money, you also had to control the story. And this, allegedly, led to a program known as Operation Mockingbird.
The alleged goal of Mockingbird was basically to weaponize the media. You do that by embedding your own operatives in newsrooms, by recruiting influential journalists with money or exclusive access. You could supposedly plant propaganda that looked like real news, all to make sure that the official story was the only one the public ever heard. And this really brings us to the ultimate takeaway from all the documents we've looked at today. The covert war for global power, as alleged by these sources, is fought on three fronts: with secret armies, with secret money, and with secret influence over what we see, what we hear, and what we believe. It leaves us with a final, pretty unsettling question. When the lines are blurred that much, how can we ever really know what's real?